Tell me about your experience when you were homeless.
When I was homeless?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
Well, first of all, I came to a different country. I didn't speak English very well. I didn't know anything about immigration laws and what I needed to do to work or get housing, nothing. And it was very tough, but I actually hang out here in the Pike Place Market, and I'm a musician, so I used to play actually up here, and I made money playing in the streets for about 3 years, and I met people, surf, couch surf, did all that, but I guess along the way I met really amazing people that went out of their way to help me and get me everything from a house, a warm place to sleep,
That shit on YouTube.
to mental health services, healthcare, I mean everything. So I could be okay and functioning and get my life together, get a job, go to school. And here I am. It was life.
So you are a success story of Seattle.
Yep, I am.
That's
We're
awesome.
actually just gonna live in Seattle.
I really, one thing that I forgot to mention was
Don't get me
that
wrong,
I
Seattle's
really owe
awesome.
my life to all those adults that at that time stepped up to help
Kind of
me.
reminds me of Argentina.
And now I'm an adult, so I need to step up and help. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I was there in
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so here's this youth voice that's all excited, and and then there's you and this excitement about basically expanding our ideas on everything, patterns, everything, our way of being. Because I can see, like, in the generation before, this awakening, this consciousness, the rising, whatever you want to call it. It was a nice concept, and then it turned into an interesting movement, and now it's global, and now it's generational. Like, we're talking waves of people now. We're talking like this entire generation from like 30 down moving forward, and the generations after that growing in it. You know what that means? That means you're gonna have to get out of the way, or you cannot remain in the space that you're in. You cannot remain in these old patterns, because it's intense. Really, are you scared of this?
I wouldn't say scared of that word.
What is it then? I want to hear from all of you, and you too, because each of you now is holding a torch of different things right here. This group that's sticking around. So tell me what you're afraid of, and I'm not talking just about, but I mean this consciousness thing. Like, what scares the crap out of you when you wake up and go, oh,
I'm afraid of being a barrier without acknowledging that, without being conscious of preventing movement and change. You see what I'm saying? Like,
no.
I'm afraid that there might be some lack of awareness.
You don't want to be a part of the old way?
Right, and I don't want to inhibit change in any way, but I think that ignorance frequently results in stagnancy, and I don't want to be that. But that's why we rely on community and others, and friends and not friends, to educate us and kind of bring us into enlightenment, to get to this point where, like, oh, like, that's not something that I want to be a part of, and I might feel guilty about being a part of it in the past, but I have to let that go because I didn't know, and now that I know, I'm going to be a part of this change. So I think my only fear is that there might be a time in my life where I don't have a community to keep me accountable, that I don't have other people in my life to be challenging me, challenging my thoughts and my ways and my practices. So we just have to keep seeking.
And are you afraid at all of the momentum of it, that it could be too fast or too much, or is that something that that's the part you enjoy in a way.
I think that with strong community, like, you can sustain that. But it's important to really be rooted in yourself, and to be rooted in foundational principles. Like, for me, it's nonviolence. And
Yeah, what are these? Because they've been lost, is what I think. Because I say, well, what are these roots? They've been lost. You're regaining them.
I think, yeah, for me, I dedicate my life and my philosophy to nonviolence, which means constantly asking, like, what is the loving thing to do in this situation? Because if we act with love, in love, then I don't think we can go wrong.
It sounds like you're done. You say you don't want to be in the way, you don't want to be a hindrance to this energy that's coming through. So it sounds like that, in a way, you're saying, I'm done with the old way. I'm done with this. I'm not going to do that. How did you get done with it? How did you say how did you stand in the light and say,
I don't think we're ever
done?
completely done. It's like just an endless process of letting go, and being present in what is. Yeah. Just doing the best that we can.
And what you're talking about a bit is kind of like when we look at movements that have happened, like we look at civil rights movement, we look at these different struggles. There's such a tendency to kind of make them separate and to say, oh well, this was a really nice thing that happened, and we overcame this oppression. And look, the women's movement did this, and the gay rights movement did this, and now we need this new movement. But really, it's just all part of the same movement. It's anti-oppressive, it's anti-capitalistic, and it's making these new choices and these new ways that can exist either within or slightly without of this society that we have. And it's like, it kind of does us a disservice to be like, to separate them all. And that's what, or whatever wants you to do. They want you to have these separate things going on because, God forbid, like, Puerto Rican people could be in solidarity with, you know, young queer folks, or like the elder movement could be in solidarity with the disabled movement, right? But of course, it's all got to be one thing. And I think that we just have to stop listening to people who tell us, like, well, you got to focus on this one movement, because if we realize that it's all part of like this broader oppression, then there's really nothing that can't be overcome. And I hope that as these movements move on, like as the queer movement kind of solidifies or whatever, like it's going to be easier to work together instead of keep seeing these like movements as separate and the struggle as separate.
How'd you feel? How do you feel about all this? Hey Jackie, can we film you?
I'll film her first.
I believe you can wake up this country. And I think what you can do is make the country see itself. And in a good way, not just in a bad way. They're both here. And the good way is here because of what you're doing, or will be shown because of what you're doing. Go do it. Good luck.
And until we kind of broaden our scope of vision and say, no, we demand to look at these challenges that you're saying are impossible, that you're saying are too far out there. When we do that, like that's when we'll see real change, instead of looking at these like individual youth and getting them into these individual apartments, which is still great work. Like, it's work I love to do, but I think that it's up to us to challenge it and to say, no, we demand that, to push it further, and we demand to have other people like expand their vision and say, no, we don't just want to have a 10-year plan to end homelessness, we want to have a living wage, and we want to have gender-neutral bathrooms across the city. We want to just totally change the ways that we've been doing things, and I think that people have always thought that way, but it gets shut down really quick. If I may quote Kimya Dawson, the fact that they divide us should be enough to unite us. Right on.
Amen.